Bro, imagine being Sega in 1995. You just announced your brand spanking new Sega Saturn to the public at E3. This thing's insane. It's got 32 bits, CD-ROM technology, 2-hole controller ports, and Clockwork Knight. With a starting price at $400, you're basically on top of the world. That is until the Sony guy comes up on stage and is all like,
$299.
You're dead, buddy. It's over. This dude just ruined your entire career like it was nothing. That PlayStation is priced $100 less than your piece of plastic. You scramble to make people like the Saturn, but nothing seems to work. You got some good games like Nights into Dreams, Burning Rangers, Panzer Dragoon, Baku Baku. Skip ahead like 3 years. The Saturn is dead, and Sega has one final shot. You and the boys pull together for one final hurrah, your last chance.
People will be talking about how it's all new and shit.
The Sega Dreamcast. Just look at it, bruh. This guy looks like he kills it at parties. It's for sure not my favorite console or whatever, but damn, this thing really gets my autism going. Well, games at the time looked like this, and like this, and like this. That Dreamcast was pumping out stuff that looked like this.
So ahead of its time.
I can't say I was fully alive when this stuff was happening, so I'm not trying to be all 99. I remember it like it was yesterday. But honestly, this had to be mind-blowing. I don't even have that much nostalgia for this thing either. I got my Dreamcast in like 2015 and basically never used it up until like a year ago for a reason I'll get into later. Point is, the Dreamcast, he's a cool guy. Oh no. Look at this hulking ass monster. I'm not gonna mince my meat here. The Dreamcast controller is kinda ugly. I mean, at least it doesn't look like an alien probing device, but it definitely ain't winning no gamer girl beauty pageants or anything. One thing that always struck me as odd was that the cable comes out of the bottom and not the top of the controller. I feel like I'm getting assaulted by a gray cable whenever I set it on my lap. Luckily, there is this crevice thing you can slide the wire into at the top. I mean, it's ugly, but it works. But the star of the show is this, the VMU, the Vive Monster Unit. This thing is crazy. On top of holding your data, it can display all this extra information while you're busy
Being a gamer.
Now you don't gotta open the menu in Resident Evil 2 to see if Leon was on the verge of death. Your controller would just show you. You could even take it out and play mini games with it. I mean, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but it kinda slaps. The controller is certified ABAP in my book just because of that VMU alone.
Hey, babe.
Oh, I haven't even gotten into booting the thing up. That's an experience all its own. You see, the great thing about the Dreamcast is that everyone in your general area will know right when you turned it on. It legit shouts you whenever you try to plug in a controller. Oh god. And you don't gotta be a gamer wizard to know that the Dreamcast boot up sound is like literal ear nut. It's basically like an accepted fact. Anyways, I've been talking about everything but the console's library, so let's actually get into that, fam. So in the US of A, Dreamcast games are not all that common to begin with, and all the good ones go for insanely high prices most of the time. It's because of this that I basically only had 2 games for the longest time, Sonic Adventure and Crazy Taxi. By the way, I already made a video on SA1 a million years ago if you want to check that out. Before long, I got an idea, a terrible, awful idea. You see, depending on what model you have, the copy protection on the Dreamcast is straight up booty ass. Meaning if I wanted to use my Dreamcast for something other than a white drink coaster, I could just turn to piracy.
Way hey, and up she rises, way hey, and up she rises, way hey, and up she rises early in the morning.
All you gotta do is download the game files to a CD, and bada bing, bada bam, you just got a one-way ticket to Seaman Land. I could finally play my Dreamcast without going broke. And seeing as how my autism knows no bounds, I even made some fire cases for him. See? It's almost like they're real. Yeah, but basically the entire library was opened up to me. All of it was at my greasy fingertips, and I gotta say, damn. The Dreamcast has one of the most solid lineups of its generation. It's got some of my favorite fighting games of all time, RPGs like Skies of Arcadia and Phantasy Star Online, tasty survival horrors like RE Code Veronica and Illbleed. It's got
Bullet Hell Pops.
like Ikaruga, Mars Matrix, and my boy Gunbird 2. There's also all these wacky experimental games like Jet Grind Radio and Cannon Spike. There's like 3 whole Blonic games.
Oh no.
And bruh, they even covered my uncontrollable puzzle game fetish with Puzzle Fighter 2 and Puyo Pop Fever. The amount of quality is insane. Because of the Dreamcast, I got pretty
Experimental.
I finally stopped being a little Smash baby and learned to love traditional fighting games through all of Capcom's bangers. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, Capcom vs. SNK, and my personal favorite, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. The fact I can fight Tobey Maguire using Jill Valentine and Tron Bonne is just magical to me. And who can forget about Guilty Gear X? Me and the boys go hard in that one. I mean, I always get destroyed by the pirate lolly, but like Guilty Gear's my shit, so it's okay. The D also has my favorite bullet hell shooter of all time. Yeah, you know I'm talking about that Gunbird 2, baby. You see, the thing about bullet hell games is since I'm not Asian, I'm automatically awful at them. And the lack of continues with these games really gets my nips in a twist. The Gunbird 2 is made way more accessible due to the extensive difficulty options, and the fact that you can basically try as many times as you need, as a death only means you lose your power-ups and all that. Best of all, if I got an equally deprived homie next to me, we can blow through the entire campaign in like a half an hour and just have a good old time. The cutscenes change depending on what characters you and your homie pick. For instance, I picked the blue girl and my friend picked the robot guy, and at the end he became my dad. So yeah, moving away from that, the Dreamcast had all these ambitious and original IPs coming out at the time. You got all this crazy stuff like Jet Grind Radio. It's kind of like if you mix Tony Hawk Pro Skater with wacky weed pop art and like just a pinch of that game Subway Surfers. You go all around this place called Shibuya-cho committing mass vandalism while you run from the cops. See, it's literally Subway Surfers, I wasn't lying, guys.
Now that you're feeling real tipsy, let me take you on a trip and roll with me. With the brothers get their party on every.
You can't talk about ambitious Dreamcast games without bringing up Shenmue. So this cool boy god named Yu Suzuki was like, guys, I just had a brain moment. Let's create an open world game with an obsessive amount of detail to save Sega from bankruptcy. This game was pretty much the first of its kind. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. This dingy Japanese suburb felt so real. All the NPCs were fully voice acted. You could take paintings off of walls. You could go up to gachapon machines and be all like,
"This is cool."
Everyone you meet in town have their own names and routines you can observe like a complete stalker. There's also the fact that Shenmue probably inspired the Yakuza series, which is something I can appreciate. I actually have quite the interesting story about how I first played this game. So a couple of months ago, my bro had this binder full of games he got from his uncle. I'm gonna call this guy Uncle Alex to conceal his identity. So basically the reason my friend was able to receive these games was because our boy Uncle Alex was up to some shady dealings. Say it with me, gamers, possession of child pornography. He's still behind bars, I think, so y'all don't gotta worry. But yeah, me and my friend were in possession of his uncle's sloppy seconds. So we crack it open and find all 3 Shenmue discs. We both get pretty hyped because Shenmue's a little bit pricey online. So I insert disc 1 into my
Home video gaming console?
and that's when my Dreamcast hissed and screamed at me louder than I ever had before. The disc ain't working, I realized. I inspect the disc to find mysterious stains and an insane amount of scratches. I press on, using every trick in the book. I cleaned off the mysterious stains, slapped some white toothpaste on that bad boy, and then it finally worked.
But Itoi-san, how do you know about the 3 blades?
Years ago, I was Chinese.
I also don't want to forget to mention Skies of Arcadia. It's a turn-based JRPG with some heavy Wind Waker and FF9 vibes. Gotta say, I'm a fan of the Pirate Boy aesthetic and its battle system. It's got this nifty spirit bar you can use to spend on smaller magic attacks or charge up for big ones. I honestly haven't played this one that much. I gotta be careful with what RPGs I start because I basically sign away my soul for weeks until I finally finish it. By the end, I always look like a car accident and smell like cheese, so I really gotta be picking my battles here. I know there's an updated port in the GameCube called Skies of Arcadia Legends, so if you got like $250 you're itching to spend, I got you, bro. One of the main features of the D at launch was that you could browse the World Wide Web. For the first time, you could connect with pea-soaked gamers all across the world and play Phantasy Star Online. I mean, I wasn't alive at the time to experience it in its heyday, but honestly, Phantasy Star Online was a big milestone. It definitely pushed online MMOs into the mainstream. Without this game, Sword Art Online probably wouldn't exist. But even with its internet, its banging games, and all of its bro-worthy ideas, the Dreamcast was Sega's last console, and is sadly considered a failure. The Sega Saturn cucked the entire company so bad that they couldn't support the Dreamcast in the long run. It seriously didn't help that in 2001, Stink Boy Sony man was all like,
Yeah, the PS2's calling pussies, hold on to your ass.
just look at these launch titles, Metal Gear Solid 2, Final Fantasy X, GTA 3, Devil May Cry, and Silent Hill 2? That's basically unfair. But yeah, the Dreamcast is a super interesting console with some ballin' games that sadly died too young. It's definitely not all bad though. Most of Sega's properties moved on to the original Xbox, so the IPs lived on, for a bit at least. Shenmue 2 got a release in the States, Jet Grind Radio got a sequel, Jet Set Radio Future, fire game by the way, and even Panzer Dragoon got revived on the Xbox. Even now, people make homebrew for the Dreamcast. People are out here porting games like Minecraft and Cave Story to it. I mean, with varying levels of quality, but I think that's pretty cool. The fact people are making new games for a system that discontinued almost 20 years ago really warms my cold virgin heart. Well, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to hopefully bring new perspective to a system I vibe with. That Dreamcast kinda lit though. Episode 13 coming soon, by the way. Don't think I forgot.